It has been long debated within the community of the world's most popular esport on whether or not the game that they pour hours on end into is worth playing. The League of Legends community is split on whether it is a good game that provides many advantageous benefits or is utter garbage that no human should ever be involved with. Created in 2009 by Riot Games, League of Legends is probably the face of the multiplayer online battle arena genre. A 5v5 team-based MOBA with over 140 unique characters and a rampant community outside the Rift, League has generated immense appeal. With over 167 million monthly players and games being started around the clock, the game has undoubted popularity and a faithful player base. Outside of its widespread popularity, League has its own share of issues that plague the game. From terrible balancing to one of the most toxic communities in video game history, League of Legends is notorious for being hated by not only its own community, but also outsiders who have only experienced League from current and previous players. But the question still stands. Is League of Legends bad? League of Legends is widely known for its insanely toxic player base. While not every person is inherently toxic, this game for some reason pulls the toxic side out of everyone. Toxicity is a staple of online games, especially those that require you to work with a group of people you've never met before. Paired with the perceived anonymity of the screen, it is inevitable that people will begin to take out their anger and frustration with the game onto teammates and enemies. The main source of toxicity in League is the presence of in-game chats. The fact that there is only voice chat within a pre-made group of people provides players with another layer of dissociation from the other players. The in-game chats are intended to act as a medium for teammates to discuss tactics and converse in a way to help win the game, but in reality this doesn't really happen as League's developers intended. Players from either team will take every opportunity they have to criticize and make fun of the enemy team. This sort of mental assault is a viable strategy into tilting the opposing players into playing even worse. This strategy has gotten to the point where Riot themselves have recognized the inherent toxicity associated with League's all-chat system and made plans to remove the system outright. But this was before League players made it known that the majority of the toxicity in-game is from the team chat itself. Due to the competitive nature of League of Legends, players have an inflated sense of ego and feel like they should never take responsibility for their misplays, poor calls, or lack of skill. Instead, many players divert their bad gameplay onto their teammates. Phrases like jungle diff, report bot, no team, or even inhuman team are all sayings that these kinds of players use to justify the game they just lost or their poor gameplay. The feeling that they need to let the other team, and especially their teammates, know how awful their team is at the game is a shared feeling among League players. Outside of these fairly tame "my team is bad" phrases, League chat is mostly filled with things like curse words, slurs, and even threats. From critiquing the micro movements of your mid laner to outright wishing your jungler got hit by a bus, League chat is a toxic cesspool that continues to be an issue. Even with the issues associated with chat, it can't be removed. Even though League chat is its toxic side, the part of the player base that uses League chat as intended keeps the system alive. Toxicity in League is an inevitable evil that every player has to deal with while playing the game. The solutions presented by Riot to deal with toxic players are to simply mute them in-game, but this then takes away communication from one of your teammates. Regardless of how they are as a person or as a player, communication is key in MOBAs, and losing the ability to draw tactics with, say, your jungler will often hurt the team as a whole. Even if your 09 Yasuo one-trick is sprinting it down mid and every fiber in your being is telling you to call him an ape who has escaped from the zoo and should uninstall the game expeditiously, this is just adherence to the toxic state of the game and isn't going to help your team dynamic. Some players are just bad, and that is something people can't seem to accept. Now it's time to talk about balancing in League of Legends, or lack thereof. The League balancing team has been under fire from almost everyone in the community for a very long time, and oftentimes for good reason. League implements a 2-week patch period where they try to add, fix, or remove certain aspects of the game, and this creates in some cases an entirely new game. You can get into League, and 2 months later the game you had initially started playing can feel entirely different. From new champions, items, maps, game modes, champion reworks, and whatever else Riot has added, it can become very hard to keep up with the ever-changing state of the game and the subsequent rapidly changing meta. The meta of League can essentially be boiled down to a few absolutely broken or insanely strong characters who are dominating not only their role, but also the game as a whole. A good example of this would be Sett, who upon release was dominating the top lane in both casual and competitive play, to the point where he needed to be nerfed into the dirt. The release of Sett alludes to another issue that Riot keeps creating. The League team has an issue of releasing heavily overtuned characters. Champions like Gwen, Sett, and Samira make the following 2 weeks after their release awful for the players of the game. Despite certain hotfixes to help with some issues like glitches, bugs, and stat numbers being wrong, the main kits of these characters are not touched until the patch date comes up. Having to adhere to the set 2-week patch period prevents champions who make the game fundamentally unfun from being fixed. Another issue with balancing is that the insane difference in skill between players makes it so that the game will never properly be balanced, and there will always be some broken characters either in high or low elo. Riot tries to accommodate the players of each skill level, but these problems that the players encounter in the game are not comparable. In low elo, a champion like Master Yi is highly impressive and often decides games, but in high elo, Master Yi is almost never seen. Due to this, Riot often balances based on higher elo and the level of play in the competitive scene, leaving low elo players with nothing.
During competitive times, all of a sudden, so usually generally, the issue with patches in metas is that they have to really look at the whole player base as a whole. They can't just look at the best of the best and bounce around that, because obviously the best of the best doesn't equal the general player base. A good champion, to explain that, is Qiyana or Talon. But during especially LCS season, they send out a few patches that are very pandered towards the best of the best, because that's when things are happening, and that's when they want to make sure no abusive gameplay at the top of the skill ladder can be used during LCS. And that can negatively affect normal us plebeians who aren't as good.
When Riot sets out to fix one issue, they end up creating more issues, and as a result, the discrepancy created almost guarantees that some items or champions will be able to still be broken and cause issues at all levels of the game.
I think you have to be addicted to the game to understand the game, because the game changes every 2 weeks, because patches shift, because things come in meta and then disappear just as quickly. The game breaks every 2 weeks. It changes to a different broken state after that. So it's so hard to keep up with it, and it gives cause to why people feel so confused, or why the skill cap's so high, because you join into the game and it's changed a month from when you start playing.
At its core, League is a very simple game fundamentally, but the presence of over 140 unique champions, all with different playstyles, abilities, upgrade paths, and preferred items, create more levels of difficulty. There are many intricacies to League that generate a massive skill ceiling that many of its players will never be able to reach. Things like wave manipulation, map awareness, matchup knowledge, and team synergies all create a high level play that you really only see in competitive play. Due to this skill ceiling, newer players are pushed away from the game. The skill ceiling of the game is also not limited to the game's mechanics, but also the champions themselves. Almost every champion, save a few basic ones, has specific technical skills that players have figured out and mastered. From Yasuo's Keyblade to Riven's animation cancels and anything on Qiyana. These small optimizations in how the character functions often decides the limits to one's improvement on that champion. While these small intricacies are great for the game and are cause to limitless improvement for the players, they make the game less accessible for new players, but this isn't really the fault of League itself. A huge issue in League is the presence of Smurfs, people who already have experience in the game and have created a new account to either bully new players or climb in rank. The fact that these Smurfs most likely know the champion's specific tech, they will use this to dominate their low elo games and subsequently push these new players away from the game. Smurfs can prevent potential League enjoyers from giving the game a try as a result of a few bad games of Smurfs. Another issue with skill in the game is the poor matchmaking. Oftentimes, a high master player can find themselves playing with platinum players, and this creates a poor experience for everyone involved. The master player isn't challenged enough, and the platinum players are getting destroyed by the player who's 2 tiers better than they are. Riot has made strides to fix these issues through changes in the matchmaking system, like Champions Queue, but this just created more issues.
It was supposed to fix, high elo gameplay, it was supposed to fix the best of the best, and they rolled that out, and that didn't even work. Like, people hate it because like high queue times, same teams, you know, all this stuff. It just still creates problems. So even when they try to fix problems, it just creates more problems. Every time a fix comes out, it just creates more little smaller issues everywhere else, or just general issues everywhere.
These rank-specific queues created absurdly long wait times and resulted in the same players playing each other over and over. These queue changes received intense backlash, and Riot just reverted back to the poor matchmaking system it previously used. Even with all the issues of League of Legends, the game presents some good aspects. The main attraction to the game itself is that it's free to play, and you don't need to spend any amount of money to enjoy or improve at the game. Even with this free price tag, the League team has presented the fans with some of the best in-game skins ever. Even though these skins are not required to purchase, fans of Champions can buy skins that make their characters look funny, cool, or even make them more competitively viable. League is the most popular esport in the world, with a massive player base and subsequently massive community of people who love the game they pour time into. The esports scene presents players of all skill levels with top-tier gameplay and innovations that they wouldn't have otherwise seen. Moments like the Faker outplay can even bring new players into the game, increasing the player count.
Even though I only have a man on the floor, I think he's in the bed. Oh, Faker may be in trouble here. Deathmark tries to clean it up for Ryu. Oh, look at the cleanse, look at the moves. Faker, what was that? Faker with a huge play, the QSS. I can't believe I just saw that.
Another good part of League is the fun that you can have while playing with friends. I know for myself, the most fun I have playing League is when I hop into a 5-man lobby with some of my friends and we just joke around and casually play into the late hours of the night. The camaraderie that can come from this game is great, and is part of the reason people keep coming back. To sum this all up, League is a game that is inherently unfixable. It has created too many issues for the game to change without changing how it plays fundamentally, and as a result, the game is garbage.